In a week when West Indies lost a test match at Sabina Park to Bangladesh, when the Barbados Cricket Association and the Guyana Cricket Association failed to show for a vote on the governance structure, in a week when John Campbell was given a 4-match suspension and Barbados is threatening to take the West Indies cricket board. Hello everyone, welcome to the #1 cricket channel in the Caribbean. This is The Takedown, your weekly Sunday morning show. As usual, we have Basil Butcher Jr., former coach of the USA cricket team, and along with Dwight Chatou as we proceed this morning. Good morning, gentlemen, and welcome.
Good morning, Carlton. Good morning, Chato. Good morning to your viewers.
Hey, Basil. Hey, Carlton. Nice seeing you guys this morning. Good morning again to all your listeners.
Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate you making the effort, and as we look forward to the takedown this morning. However, let's start with looking at the West Indies Bangladeshi one-day international that is currently going on. It's 185 for 4. Give us your feedback on what you think is going on in the match and how you see this match playing out. What you think West Indies will be comfortable chasing. Do you agree with the lineup that West Indies have played and so forth? Let me hear your feedback. Let's start with you, Dwight. You're probably a little more second.
Well, let me start with the lineup. Not a lot of big surprises to the batting lineup, even though it didn't play as well as we thought it would have in the last ODI series. I expected them pretty much to go back with that sort of batting lineup. But on the bowling side, I'm a bit disappointed. I was really hoping that Minley would have gotten a look in. Listen, I know Jaden Seals is my boy. He's one of my favorite players. But so far, I've not seen anything to convince me that he'll be a serious ODI player. And we can discuss that at length as to why and why not. But I have not seen anything so far to show. And I know at this point in time, I think that we need to really open this thing a bit more and give some guys a look in. And I thought that Midley put his hand up, and I thought that I would have wanted to have seen him play in this game, especially with how poorly the bowling played in the last series. For this game, it appears that we might have a little bit of a chase if Bangladesh don't fold. And I'm looking forward to see how we play. I haven't seen us bowling as well as I would have wanted us to have bowled, but it will be an interesting game going forward.
My surprise is that Greaves is playing and Midley did not play. I guess the West Indies are not as confident in their 6 batters to do the bulk of the scoring, so they play in an extra batter. And Minley, unfortunately, has to sit on the bench. That's my takeaway thus far in the game. I was very surprised to see Minley not in 11 because I had him in my 11. You're muted.
That's it. I also have Minley in my playing 11 ahead of Seals. Originally, I have gone in with Shimron Etmire instead of Justin Greaves. But Shimron Etmire, this mysterious illness, and we are hearing other things that we will know will come to the fore. But I leave it as a mysterious illness because the official communique from Cricket West Indies is that he's ill.
Mm-hmm.
We do not know what illness, whether it's mental or physiological or whatsoever. We are not asking for specific, but I would have also played Justin Greaves. They're scoring at 5.2 runs and over. That means they will get probably somewhere about 270 unless they up the run rate, having lost 4 wickets. I think that West Indies have done well so far in this match. What do you think? Any one of you, gentlemen?
Look, I would say Bangladesh, they're looking to get to at least to get to the 40 overs for the last power play with just the same 4 wickets intact, fallen, so that they would have a chance to up the run rate with more wickets in hand. Bangladesh, unlike the West Indies, they're not a power hitting team. They have to score. They would score boundaries and run their twos and so on and so forth. But for them, they need their goal, as I would see it, is to get to the 40 overs with the same 4 wickets in hand, which would mean by that time Mamadullah would have been set. And we know Mamadullah could be a serious batter down at the bottom, and we have seen him over the years. And with a Mahedi going good. So that's their immediate goal right now. If West Indies could get a wicket or 2, we can really peg them back for a score under 300, which I think would be easy to chase on that small St. Kitts ground.
Yes, I think anything under 300 will be easy to chase. Talking about chase, Seals just hit Mamadullah flush on the helmet.
Yes.
And the physio is out. So the score is 187 for 4. Flush on the helmet there. Can West Indies get 300? Or in the first place, can Bangladesh get up to 300? We are in the 30s.
Like Carlton, what I said, I think that the score I think is deceptive, and it depends on whether or not Bangladesh fall lightly before, say like the 45th. They'll lose some critical left wicket before the 40th or the 42nd overs, because if they're able to keep their wickets intact, you will see an acceleration and they'll go and threaten 300, I think. All right, whether or not the West Indies can chase those runs, man, as I said, this batting lineup is inconsistent. I mean, I would expect them to on this particular ground, but for some strange reason, this lineup just did not play as well as thought as they would have in the past series. There's a bit of concern for me about the form of a player like King, and it would just be interesting just to see how they play. That's just my view. If there is a chase, I'll be watching it with interest just to see how the players play.
Yeah, good morning, Clifford Lewis, or good afternoon, good day, Merrick. Tough decision must be taken to drop a couple of these players who are underperforming. That's what Merrick is saying. We're coming to the test. Seals is more of a test bowler for me, said Jay. Good morning, Jay. Good morning, Merrick. Jamor Sumal, good morning to you. Jamor is saying that he's right at the stadium. Good. Would love to have your feedback. Tell us about the crowd and so on. Jamor Sumal, happy to have you. Mm-hmm. Now, gentlemen, we lost the test match to Bangladesh at Sabina Park and levering the series 1-1. Now another test series is just around the corner. What I saw on Monday when I was at the test match, I was asking myself, are these players just not good enough? Are they giving off their best, but they are just not good enough? Or is it a case that they have done tool on the West Indies head coach, Andre Coley? Is it a case that they want to get rid of Andre Coley so that they are not playing at their best? Or is it that they are just not good enough? Gentlemen, I want you to give me your opinion of that of what I just said. And I also want you to tell me, if you were the West Indies head coach at this time, I'm asking you for 3 to 5 things that you would do if you are the West Indies head coach at this time. Let's start with you again, Dwight.
Whether or not the players are scheming to get rid of Andre Coley, I don't get that sense. Especially from the core bowlers. I see the bowlers going out and trying really, really hard. And I just think that there are some things that Andre needs, some tough decisions that Andre needs to make to get this team moving forward. But I don't see a mutiny at hand in terms of players underperforming and trying to use that as a scheme to get rid of Andre Coley. But what you asked is a very interesting question. I think Mr. Coley need to understand that right now he has been made the sole selector of the team. He has been made the guy who selects both the test team and the A team, which is a prep unit going into the test team. And everything is set up so that in case this team fails, we can rightly say to Mr. Coley, who's coming up on his second anniversary as coach, Mr. Coley Tata. And Coley needs to now make some strong changes. The first thing I personally believe is that Coley should be harping in the ears of Miles Bascom about getting more A-team cricket played and radically overhauling the regional first class system, because the players that he has to work with are simply, the batsmen he has to work with are simply not good enough to play test cricket at a high level. I think there's a stats that came out that has the West Indies at the very bottom of teams in terms of the average scores that they make in test games, in test matches, and that's not surprising. Coley needs to have them Coley needs to push to have them overhaul regional cricket so that we can have the very best cricketers playing more often against the very best cricketers. This whole thing that you're going to play more games and have combined campuses come in and thing, it's nice if you're just planning to have them play a game against combined campuses. But we at some point in time need to streamline the system and call the system so that we can have our best cricketers playing against, let's say, the top 50 best cricketers in the Caribbean for a good portion of the regional tournament. But secondly, Mr. Coley needs to make a big decision and look at the leadership of the team. My advice to him is to make a tough decision and hand the keys to the city to Alzarri Joseph. Yes, I said it, Alzarri Joseph, Andre Alzarri Joseph, and have him look at him as the next captain for the team, because these guys called Brathwaite and the Silva, they're basically their spot in the team needs to be re-examined. All right, I don't want to take a whole lot of time away from you, Carlton, because I have some other ideas, but I think those two things are the two strongest things that need to be done right now.
All right, I'll come back to you for one more of those ideas, Dwight, but let me hear two from Basil, and then I come back to you for one more and then go back to Basil for one. I probably will even list two also after Basil. Go ahead, Basil.
Oh, you asked the question. You raised an interesting question first. A scenario regarding players not happy with Coley as coach and they're not putting out their best. Now, if indeed that is so, I would drop the whole bloody team and start from scratch, right? Because that would be a reflection of the unprofessionalism of the players, right? I that's a little hyperbole, but that's the mindset I would be focusing, because then I would have to ask a question of each player, look them in the eye. Do you want to be here? And if I don't get the right answer, we're gonna have to find somebody else, right? That's number one, if in case your scenario was correct. The other thing, I don't think our guys are good. The record says that. I mean, you are what your record is. They're not good. And I always find West Indian fans of this era, unfortunately, they are delusional. Their expectations does not meet the reality on the field, and they get upset and cuss the guys or blah blah blah. Well, no, let's go to the brass tacks, as you asked. What is a head coach? Firstly, as a head coach, along with the director of cricket, I want to be able to go to every single territory to see what they are doing from the ground up, not just at the franchise level, because the franchise level players are reflective of the futility that is at the bottom and the rotting of our cricket structure. And the head coach, because at the end of the day, he is getting the products of that structure. And there's only but so much you could do when guys come to the highest level with a bunch of deficiencies and have to try to learn to do those things at the highest level. That is a no-no, right? That is the number one thing. I'm not gonna get it. I don't necessarily have an alternate. I have an alternate view in terms of Brathwaite as captain, because my question has been always, I ask people who are advocating to remove Brathwaite, don't talk in generalities. Be specific. Tell me tactics Brathwaite has done where West Indies were in an advantage position, and then because of the tactics, we lost that advantage, right? Those are the kind of things you have to, that is how you're going to assess him, not simply on wins and losses, because we're not a good team, right? Let us look at those things to evaluate his captain. Then we could really have an intelligent conversation, right? But the other thing, the thing about the A-team tours, that is a very important thing. And we need to get A-team tours against some of the better top nations, so the guys can be challenged when they go to these places, like the Australias, to New Zealand. Obviously, South Africa is coming our way, to England, and so on. India, Pakistan. Those are the areas we need to focus on, trying to get a team against those kind of teams, so we can really make an assessment as to what the next group below the international level, where they are. And as a short-term thing, and I know that they're supposedly doing this, going back to the territories, I want to know that the coaches that will work with my players when they return back from their tours are competent to carry out the program. So when I see that player, the next time, I would have seen improvement.
Thank you very much, Basil. Now, before I come back to you, Shatu, for one more, I just want
I wanted to respond to Basil and that comment he made about Brathwaite, but you're the host, you decide.
Yeah, I'm coming back to you. Yes. So this is two of the things that I would do if I was the head coach of the West Indies cricket this morning. The first thing that I have to do, every single player that has a potential to be in the test squad for Pakistan will have to turn up at their headquarters tomorrow morning. If you're in Jamaica, you have to turn up at Savannah Park. In Trinidad, you have to turn up at Queen's Park Oval, and so on. Every single one of you. Because I am going to give you a program for a 40-hour work week. This program will be supervised by the head coach, the two head coaches that Cricket West Indies are paying, and I. Because every training session, all 6 grounds, those video feed will have to be coming into me. And it is your responsibility to ensure that I get that feed live. So if you have to get a tripod and put up your phone so that I can see what you're doing, you will have to do that. So that's the first thing I will do. And without compromise, it's a 40-hour work week. Every player who has an opportunity, who is probably pending or likely to go to Pakistan, will have to be doing this. The second thing that I will be doing if I'm the West Indies head coach right now, and I said it, I think I said it on Wednesday, those 7 batsmen in India, I will also give them a call and tell them what I expect from them, and also tell them that I need video images. Basil, you said something, and I said it on Tuesday. These players, they don't know that they are not good. Yes, they don't know that they are not good. I said it on Tuesday. Go ahead, Dwight.
Well, Basil, and I hear your ideas, and saying I give credit to a lot of the ideas that you have. But this thing that you're coming out with about this metric or this rubric that we need to go through about replacing Brathwaite. I think you need to re-examine this. Brathwaite's place in the team is now officially under question. Brathwaite, in his last 13 games, his last 26 innings, is averaging 21. 21. Brathwaite is going backwards in his batting. And Brathwaite is not like some batsman on the side that's not critical to the team. Brathwaite and De Silva are the two most senior players in the team and the players that we look to get us through the tough times. Their experience not saying anything on the score sheet. Their experience isn't saying much on the score sheet. So we need to examine Brathwaite's place in the team. We need to stop giving him an automatic pass. And that's why I say give the keys to Azari. Because Brathwaite right now is getting a free pass. And De Silva is also getting a free pass. In the last 13 games, he's averaging 20. We need to start opening competitions to these two positions in the team. We're not good enough for players to get a free pass like that anymore. That's my view on this whole Brathwaite thing.
Let me hear what Basil has to say.
No, well, I mean, Chato is saying, I was talking specifically about this captaincy. People talking about removing Brathwaite as captaincy. What Chato is saying, looking at all the averages and so on and so forth, that's across the board for West Indies batters because all of them got sub 30 averages for the most part, right? So that is not news to West Indies fans. We have to look here. Let me tell you something. West Indies cricket is not something where you could just open the scorebook and make your assessment on the players. You got to look deeper below the surface as to what the player possesses and which players, in your opinion, based on the things you see in this player, will give you the best chance for them to do well in the road. I agree with you with De Silva. I am not ready to drop Brathwaite. I am ready to drop De Silva because on two counts, I never thought he was ever a good wicketkeeper. And his batting, what was supposed to have decent, has gone through the... and not only that, he has a serious technical flaw that has to be fixed because he's getting out the same way over and over. Not to say Mr. Brathwaite don't have flaws, but of all the batters on the West Indies team, the person that would, I mean, whether he's in a little slump or whatever the case may be, when push comes to shove, Brathwaite is the man that could grit for us more than the rest of them. And I am not ready to let go of that in terms of just as a batter from our team.
Well, push hasn't come to shove in the last 13 games. He has hardly done anything. No, wait, Basil.
A very arbitrary number in saying last 13 games. I don't
think 13 games is 26 innings. 26 innings is almost 2 years. Over the last 2 years, he has performed poorly. He's performing poorer than Casey Carty, who we can question. While we're seeing some improvement in Alec Athanaze and Hodge, we see Brathwaite all the way down, threatening to enter the teens in terms of what we expect him to score during the game. Don't tell me about he's expected to go in there and grit and whatever. He's not scoring runs. He's not scoring runs. And by the way, you said that he's worse off than De Silva. I disagree strongly. De Silva's wicket-keeping numbers are better than what a lot of you guys think. But
no.
What do you mean no? What do you mean no?
Chato, I've heard that rubbish from you regarding his wicket-keeping numbers. I am talking about De Silva technique. His footwork is piss poor to be an international wicketkeeper. Don't tell me about numbers. De Silva, many balls De Silva should be collected. Even look at his glove work. The way he takes the ball often is very poor. I don't care
if he's grabbing that ball.
Chato, let me give you a little lesson about coaching. You do not look at a wicketkeeper just because how much catch they take. There's a lot of things you go deeper when you look at a wicketkeeper. You look at footwork. You look at hand position where they are consistently. So when the basic catch come, you would know that would they be in position to take the catch. And the Silva does not show that. His footwork has always been poor. Always. He is not a good athlete. He's not a good athlete. And unfortunate for him, he has never worked on improving his athleticism. That's why
Basil, footwork, where his glove is, all of that you're talking about is to do one thing: take the catch. And Brathwaite is taking more catches per game than Jeffrey Dujon, more catches per game than Derek Murray, more catches per game than Tom Blundell. No. You have no, Basil.
That garbage. Jeffrey, what's his name? Derek Murray, as an 18-year-old, who took the most dismissals. Would you ever say Derek Murray was the best player in West Indies cricket? Man, Chato, stop this.
What do you mean stop it? He is in world cricket right now. The Silva is right up there in terms of number of catches per game. Don't tell me about his foot. Don't tell me about if he has his hand on his chin. If he takes the catch, he takes the catch. If he takes the catch, he takes the catch. I just want my wicketkeeper to take the catch. I don't need it to look pretty. I don't need it to be agile. Just take the catch.
Chato, I would bet you right now, West Indies bowlers, there's worry every time the ball edge will go to the Silva. That's where he at right now.
But he's taking the catches.
I'm worried that he's gonna hold the bloody ball when it go to him. That's where he's.
I'm a simple guy. I don't care how you hold the bat once it can make runs.
As far as I'm concerned, the last thing you want in your team is a lack of confidence in your wicketkeeper holding the catch. And I don't see how these players can lack confidence in a wicketkeeper who's taking 3.7 catches per game. Over his last 13 games, over his career, 3.5 catches per game.
Dwight, let me ask you one question. I want to ask you a question, Dwight. How many catches, what's the ratio of catches that Silva is taking per chance created by the bowlers? You have that number?
No. Wait 1 minute. I don't have those figures. But you would have to be saying that this West Indies unit is able to create more chances than New Zealand, than the West Indies in their heyday, than many other teams which have better lineup than they do. That is where that argument would be coming from, because he is taking more catches than those players. We don't have a better bowling lineup than the West Indies in the East.
Do you believe that West Indies bowling lineup currently, and I'm not saying that they are the best, but take away South Africa, India, and Australia, how do West Indies bowling attack stack up to the other countries?
I think we have a good bowling lineup, but you have named South Africa, you have named India, you have named Australia. You need to add that. You need to add England to that team, because England has a fairly good bowling lineup coming. You need to add New Zealand to that thing. All right, we have I'll be the first to say we have a very good bowling lineup, but let's not fool ourselves. The Silva's wicket keeping is not as bad as it's been made out to be. And if he drops one catch, everybody's acting like Dujon never dropped a catch. He is taking far more catches per game on average than many cricketers, many wicket keepers in world cricket who looks prettier than he does, and then even some of our historically best wicket keepers like Jeffrey Dujon. So I'm not going to get into a conversation about his footwork and his gloves and all of that sort of thing. He's taking the catches when you look at the numbers.
Because here, let me tell you, Chatu, one of the things also is check off with a wicketkeeper. It's not just the catches that come to him, it's every time the ball comes to him behind the stumps. And is he catching the balls all the time? And how is his position? I mean, you can look at the Silva and see the Silva's confidence is at the lowest ebb. When the Silva dropped that catch going down the leg side, I am 60 years old, I would have taken the catch.
Thank you. Just let me run through some comments here. Jay saying, their performances has nothing to do with the coach. They are just poor. I understand that, Jay, but I said it to you on Wednesday, and I'm going to say it to you again. I know, Jay, that you're a fan of Coley. Nothing wrong with that. But all over the world, players play poorly and coaches get fired. So it is not just okay to say is the players are playing poorly. They are not going to get fired. The coaches are going to get fired. That's what it is all over the world. I think people sometimes too harsh on the coach sometimes because there's no way I believe that Andre Coley should be blamed for the batsman's shambolic performances. As I said again, Honor, I will say the same thing. Players play poorly, but coaches get fired. It's not that I'm not agreeing with what you are saying, but the reality all over the world. Sure, when our good friend is here, if I am the West Indies head coach, I'll replace the captain, drop Hope, and replace him with Thorn. Basil, could you reply to that, please?
Come on. Young Thorn is my boy. That's my boy. Young Thorn is not ready for the big leagues just yet. Come on. We need to look. West Indies have to make sure when we put in our guys to play international cricket, they have ticked off the boxes. They have the skill set because they have come through. Even though they don't have a lot of experience, but we want to see them have demonstrated all the various skills that we enumerate that you want to see in an international player, that these guys have demonstrated the capability of doing that. I don't care about how long they played, but don't send them into the deep end and they have not done so, right? So, no, and then when they go there and they realize that this is a whole different ball game. How am I going to work this situation out? And then we cost them again and say, oh, why come he can't bowl the line and length steady and all of these things. Now, if you ain't bowling the line and length regularly in the first class match, what you're going to expect when you go bowl against really good, the best players in the world, you're going to be more consistent. We got to be careful. And the thing about it, as I told a guy the other day, when we judging these players, and we often like to harken back to the halcyon days. Remember, in the halcyon days, throughout our cricket structure, from club, even age group under 19, when you regional tournament and so on, and even under 19 within your country, club, the competition was tough. So these guys came through that thing. Today, it's not like that. Look, I'll give you an example. Barbies is heralded in Guyana as the area where most of the Guyana cricketers are produced. Barbies has not played a red ball tournament since before the pandemic. Since the pandemic, and the pandemic has gone and so on, they have not played a single red ball competition.
Thank you, Basil. Do you believe that the Josephs will be going to Pakistan? And also, should Roach, which is my choice also, I would have Roach replacing Brathwaite temporarily as the captain. So how do you react to those? Do you think the Josephs are going to Pakistan? And how would you see Roach as an interim captain for the West Indies team?
I don't have any information on whether or not the Josephs have been given T20 contracts at the same time as the Pakistani series. We have seen Azhar being very committed to playing Test cricket. Shamar has said that he's committed to playing Test cricket. So I'm hoping that they will both be going to Pakistan. But again, you just don't know in this particular environment. It's the players who are signed with central contracts turning up and getting the permission to go and play franchise cricket. So it wouldn't surprise me. On this thing about the replacement of Brathwaite with it's the Silva, he said, or Roach is what the person said. I'm not in support of that. The same way I'm not in support of him being replaced by the Silva, because I have concerns about the Silva's batting. I think one of the things that the coach needs to start doing is he needs to start looking beyond Kemar Roach. He has been one of my favorite players. I think that he will be a West Indies great, and we can debate that on another project. He has been made to hunt as a lone lion for all his career, But I don't think he is the logical move to make. And as I said, I think we just need to make a bold step and give the keys to Azari Joseph. Angry Azari Joseph, as I like to call him. So I don't agree with the idea of putting in Roach as a temporary measure. I don't agree with that.
Thank you very much. Jamor Smalls is saying that the crowd is small because everybody may be at church. So hopefully after church, they will come in. You have a friend there, Basil Lou Prudent. Basil, right. You're building up a fan base here.
Big up Lou.
Yeah, yes. Merrick is saying, thirdly, I don't think our test openers complement each other. So that also needs to be reviewed. Yeah. What's your thought on that, Basil?
Look, I was very disappointed in John Campbell. Yeah. I was rooting hard for John Campbell. And he started to show, he made his first 50 in Test cricket. And I was looking forward to this because I think John Campbell complements Brathwaite perfectly. Because John Campbell is a guy that could take on the bowling and put pressure back on the bowling. And actually, if you remember, when John was dropped and then came back and then was returned to the team, if you remember what the chief selector said at the time, that it was on the insistence of the captain, because the captain said he liked the complementarity of batting with Campbell, because Campbell is a guy who plays shots, Campbell, and we need an opening batsman that could do that could put pressure. But I mean, all due respect to young Louis, he is not capable of doing that at this time in his career.
Yeah, thank you. Charles Taylor pointing out that West Indies got 246 and 287 to chase, and they lost on both occasions. Sure, when he's saying that Tej Narayan Chandapal is averaging 32 and he was dropped, but what was his average in his last 10 matches? That's a different thing. And Howard is saying here, so you're getting some support here, but Dwight, finally you're getting some support, Dwight. So how much did you pay you, Howard, Dwight?
I like that
one. So Lou Prudent disagree with you, Basil. When it comes to Brathwaite, he doesn't execute any form of inspiration.
No.
So you
Let
may say that.
Let me just say this to Lou. Brathwaite, at no time in his cricket career, would be a batter that would elicit inspiration, right? So don't expect that. What you were asking for is what we would say in Guyana. You're looking for blood from stone. Come on. Brathwaite is not Viv Richards. Brathwaite is not Clive Lloyd. Those are batters that would inspire a team with their performance. Brathwaite is a dour grit. Here, we call him, amongst my circle of friends, we dubbed him Paint, because watching a team bat is like watching paint dry, right? So come on, you how you gonna expect inspiration from that? It's similarly in a past era. Did Jeff Boycott inspire the English batman? No, at one time England dropped Jeff Boycott because he was batting too slow.
Thank you very much. So Michael is saying Lewis and Brathwaite was the leading run getters in the last 4-day competition. I don't need any other stats to show how terrible batsmen around the region are if those guys has the most runs. John P. Nicol, Basil, John P. Nicol is saying, morning Carlton, I'm sorry, but it is wrong what you all do to these players through your social media. Maya comes to mind. I cannot be a party to such male.
Carlton, next John P. Nicol, I would like John P. Nicol to be specific, because when we talk generally, we can have an intelligent conversation, right? Make your specific allegations. So Dwight, myself, and Carlton could address them in a specific way so we can have an intelligent back and forth. Because this thing, where with this Hetmeyer is always these Hetmeyer fans are always feeling once you make a comment about Hetmeyer they don't like, you're being overly critical. If you make a comment that is based on the record, his record, that's what we're doing. We're not getting into his personal life or anything. We're making comments on his record.
Yeah. Yes, Basil, and I realize that because we try as best as possible to state the facts, looking at the records, there are many persons who cannot counter that argument because we are looking. So they move it into a realm where there's no context to what they are saying because they cannot counter the argument. So they go somewhere else, like you are picking your own countrymen and you don't say things. And you remember the comment that I made about Brandon King?
Yep.
You know, now Dwight, Mr. Doom and Gloom, who I found his comments usually interesting.
Doctor, not Mr.
Dr. Doom, sorry, Dr. Doom and Gloom. I found his comments usually very interesting. And here again, he's asking what I think is a very good question because it also seems that way to me too. It seems that the progress of most of our batsmen comes to an halt when they join the test team. If so, why is that, Dwight? Whether that is true or not, why is the perception? Although the numbers will suggest.
Yes.
Because we do not properly invest in our post under 19 infrastructure in the Caribbean. Right up to the age of a cricketer becoming a 19-year-old. The West Indies is thereabouts. If you go and you look at the statistics, the West Indies is a top 4 maybe nation, top 4, top 5 nation in youth cricket from say year 2000 until now. All right, in terms of how they perform. We look even in recent competitions and you see names like Wickham and Anderson and Athanaze right up there with the very best of them. Now what happens after that? After that, you are now going to play big boy cricket, and we don't have the infrastructure to lift our players when it comes down to big boy cricket. Okay, that's one of the things, and one of the things I keep telling you is that it is one thing to be playing against teams that have one good bowler, and all you need to do is simply see off that bowler, and then you're cashing on the rest. When you come to play big boy cricket and you come to play test cricket, you don't have that luxury. You will have around 4 good bowlers coming onto you. And so you see, our players, once they see off a strong players and another good player start coming there like scratching them head and not knowing how to make runs. And that's why I keep telling you, we need to reform regional cricket. It's nice that they're looking to expand the games, but also call the number of players, the players after a certain level to get the best versus the best. And I think we'll get better results.
Also, a good example of looking at it is you are going to primary school and you are fast at primary school. Nobody can beat you at primary school. You are the absolutely fastest runner. But when you go to high school now, you realize that, boy, you're not really so fast, and I think that is what happened to West Indies batsmen. But never Isaac is here saying, Basil, I submit to you, in order for cricketers to compete with the best teams, our players must develop a level of mental toughness. They are inconsistent with their effort, Basil. That's what Never Isaac is saying.
I want to just briefly touch on the question that was posed that Dwight answered to add something to it. I'm gonna use an analogy. The NBA. If you guys had been watching I don't know how long you've been watching the NBA, but there was a time on the bench of the NBA, you had the head coach and 2 assistant coaches at most, right? Now today, when you look at the NBA game, you got a whole row of coaches sitting behind the bench, right? And where that came from is because when that rule became the order of the day, one and done, which means a guy goes to college for 1 year and could declare himself eligible for the draft to play in the NBA, which means the NBA started getting a whole lot of guys who were not really fully NBA ready. So what did the NBA do? Two things they did. They formed the G League, which is a development league below the NBA. All of the various teams have a G League team. And two, they have a plethora of developmental coaches within the franchise that specifically their job is about the development of the players' skills. So now they will work to develop those players. I say in the West Indies, we have to get such expertise coaching in every territory. Development coach of batters, development coach of wicket keepers, for the spin bowlers, fast bowlers, etc. Coaches in every territory. So when these players return from their overseas assignments, those developmental coaches are there when they return home to continue that upskilling of their their skills and so on. So we would see improvement. On the question, I forgot what the question you had with the guy prior to
Okay.
Mental toughness. Mental toughness.
Yes. The mental toughness is an arbitrary thing, right? I think all of those things are things that can be trained, right? And I don't know within the context of West Indies coaching structure if those things are even addressed when they're coaching, right? I would ask this question, put it out there to the West Indies cricket people. What elite athlete development model are you guys using for your cricketers? Because every sport, they are using an elite athlete development model.
Thank you, Basil. Gentlemen, the champion is giving us credit. He's saying, out of all the West Indian YouTubers, these guys are definitely fierce. So thank you, the champion.
The champion. That's why he's the champion.
Absolutely. Thank you. We try our best, the champion. But Dwight, you have said that you would have named Alzarri Joseph as your coach. Arjun Sharma is saying,
captain,
as your captain. Alzarri Joseph as your captain. Here is what Arjun Sharma is saying. Would you love to respond to it?
All right, he's saying, I can't understand the reason why Alzarri plays ahead of Anderson Phillip and Minley in the test series. He's good for nothing. Every time Alzarri plays, West Indies is denying the opportunity of both of them. Now, let me start by saying that Alzarri Joseph was a bowler who Larga was very, very hard on. Alzarri Joseph has taken steps to improve this cricket. I think around a couple of years ago, he had a bowling average of around 36. His bowling average is now down to 33. So we see improvement coming to Alzarri Joseph game. Minley is a player who I like so much until he just muffed his chance when he went, I think he was to Australia. And it's only now in this ODI series that I see Minley looking like he was coming back to his old self. He didn't play well in regional earlier this year. He never played well, I think, in regional the year before. And it's only now in this last ODI tournament that I see Minley coming back. Now, Anderson Phillips is a player that I like. And as I said before, that there is now going to be coming a time where we need to look beyond Kemar Roach and Jason Holder as frontline bowlers. And I think we'll see Anderson Phillips coming into the thing. So we don't need to worry about this whole thing about, oh, we need to drop Alzarri to play Anderson Phillips. I expect Anderson Phillips to come into the mix very, very soon.
Thank you very much, Dwight. Here's Cricket Studio asking us, gentlemen. It's a bit off topic, so I don't know if we can spend a minute on it to say that please analyze Australia-India test series. Basil, you want to give a 30-second reply, and then Dwight?
This test series in the first two test matches reminded me of the 1975-76 series West Indies against Australia. The first test match, Australia blew us out to the water. And the second test match, we blew them out to the water. So both teams have been blown out of the water. Let's see what will happen going forward.
I was surprised that India was able to win the first test match and compete as well as they did, because I think India's batting is very shallow and lacking confidence in key areas. And I think the bowling is so heavily reliant on Boomerang. And so, I mean, Australia has issues with the batting, but their bowling is so reliable and stuff. And I expect Australia to come and take over this series.
Yeah, thank you.
Gentlemen,
coming to you,
guys, let me just ask a quick question. I understand Boomer when India last left the field fielding, he had some kind of issue with one of his legs. Is that true?
That I don't know about the second. Well, I knew that he had an issue bowling in the first innings just before tea.
Okay.
On the second day, I knew that there was an issue. I don't know what happened after that.
Okay, gotcha.
But I believe that Australia is going to win the series 4-1. I just think that the India batting is brittle in this condition because in India, they prepare too much of a kind of what you'd call spinner's wicket or so on, and do not prepare proper cricket wicket. And so now when they go to a place like Australia, their batsmen are not really coping. We all know that in places like the subcontinent, no matter how fast you're bowling, when you bowl short, the balls tend to lever off. In Australia, when you bowl short, it climbs. And it's a totally different techniques. I really think that Australia...
And on that point, Carlton, India, if you watch Ranji Trophy, their first class, you will see green tracks, you will see bouncing tracks because they have instituted that years ago. And I remember Asha Bokler saying that if they ever put those tracks in the test series, it would be a different story, but they refuse to have those type of tracks at the test series because for obvious reason they want the home advantage. But their players are being exposed to bouncy tracks. But now the other question is Carlton. A lot of the guys, when they get to the international, they don't play much Ranji Trophy anymore. You see? So that's the conundrum that they're in. So that's why you see two things, for example. You see the Indians are not as good, the current guys, as good to spin because they don't play much Ranji Trophy anymore. And when you play Ranji Trophy, every team you're going to face some serious spin bowling.
All right. I see the champion here saying here that I must say that India batting is shallow. Well, yeah, well, maybe that is, if I said shallow, well, maybe it's too strong, but it is not as good as people want to believe, especially outside of India. The next thing I want to come with too. On Monday, as most of you knew, I went to the match at Sabina Park. After the match, as usual, you go down for the post-day interview. Now I asked Justin Greaves a question, and Gentlemen, here's the question that I asked Justin Greaves, and with the answer that he gave me, I asked him a follow-up question. I want you to listen to it, gentlemen.
Okay.
One of the challenges facing West Indies batsmen is consistency. Now you would have scored a century in first innings of the test, followed by 3 low scores. What are you doing to mitigate against that inconsistency from our batsmen?
Obviously the first innings of the first test, like you said, got a score and then 2 low scores. But I don't think there's a lot you can do between test matches. You know, it's a lot of discussion. But in terms of changing techniques and stuff like that, I think it's a very small window. So it's just about, you know, your mindset going into games and going into innings. And I'm more sure, like, as a young group of batters, once we get that mentality right towards the opposition, I think we're going to put ourselves in a good position.
Yeah, but it's 20 years now we don't get that mentality right. What is it that we're doing wrong?
What is it that we're doing wrong? You know, it's a young group. That's all I'll say. It's a young group. You know, we're always talking about giving people time in their roles, and you know, with the coach, I'm more sure the players have the full back end of the backroom staff. So, you know, for us, it's just about going up there and expressing ourselves.
So, gentlemen, that was a question followed by the follow-up question.
Yes.
On Monday night, late Monday night after coming from the match and resting, and I got up to do some work in the night, in the wee hours of the morning. Messages. There was a voice note on my phone. The voice note was, for want of a better word, I would say, not really. The tone of it was unwelcoming. I could use stronger words, but I use unwelcoming. And the person was saying that the follow-up question that I asked Justin Greaves was inappropriate, and I should not have asked it. Now, as a mature individual, I decided that I will not forward the voice note to Cricket West Indies. I decided that. Because as a young man, I was forgiven a number of times by adults. And as an adult, I need to forgive children. So I did not take any step, because I'm telling you, the voice note was very aggressive. And the person said I should not have asked Justin Greaves that question. But I forgive the young man. I forgave the young man that sent me the voice note, and I will leave it there. But gentlemen, do you think that the question that I posed to Justin Greaves, the follow-up question, do you think anything was wrong with it? Let's start with you, Basil.
Absolutely not. Your question was spot on. And what in your question, unfortunately for that person that told you shouldn't ask the question, entailed in that was players to understand the legacy and understanding of West Indies cricket. And I think that person missed that, because if players understood the legacy of West Indies, current guys understood the legacy upon whose shoulders they stand, and so on and so forth, in an acute way, not passingly, right? Like how the guys from other parts of the world know about the legacy they stand upon and what they represent. That question is appropriate, because if you ask and you say 20 years it's been going on, and if he is not astute enough to give you an answer, it's a reflection of where our cricket is today.
Before you come in, Dwight, I want to make the point before you come in, Dwight. The person that sent me the voice note was not Justin Greaves.
No.
I do not know why the person chose to send me the voice note, but I was saying to myself, is this the bubble? Is this the bubble that the West Indies cricket team is? You have to almost ask them some simple question, And as I said, Dwight, I forgave the young man. I forgave the young man. I am not one who is going to, seek to do anything, because as I said, I was a young man once. I've made a lot of mistakes in my life. There have been youthful exuberance. And so I forgave him and just hope that he won't do something like this again, Dwight, what's your reaction?
I believe the person who asked you who gave the response to your question, and I'm really happy that it wasn't Justin Greaves who did that. It's a player I admire a lot. But I really just think that person is just totally out of touch. All right. And he's just somebody who's just apparently there to sustain the bubble. People need to understand that where we are right now in our cricket as West Indian fans is that you can't give us the lines that people give when they come off and the team have lost. oh, we need to give 100%, and we didn't do that today, and we're just gonna go there and go back and try and just do better the next game. We're not taking that sort of answer anymore, because it has been for quite a while that we have been hearing answers like those. I would suggest that the West Indies Cricket Board and whoever their media manager is, start to school their players into saying, listen, these are the type of responses people are expecting to hear. They're going to ask you more than just surface questions that you can just give a routine response to. Right now, our question is, why are we seeing mistakes being repeated so much? Why are we seeing the sort of mental toughness that we need? Why is there a lack of strategy in our batting? Why aren't we seeing a certain aggression being taken at certain points in time in the game just to turn the tide? We're sitting and we're watching all of that, and we're seeing all of that. And as fans, we're expecting the people who ask the questions at the end of the game to ask these questions. So whoever it is who is looking at you and telling you that that was an inappropriate question, they're simply out of touch with what is going on.
Yes. I concur with you there, Dwight. Concur with you 100%. Just say something before you say something, Carlton. I think that person that said that to you is forgetting you, the press, is supposed to be the conduit for the fans. And you are asking the questions that not just you want to know, but you hearing these voices thing. But you see the difference with you, Carlton, unlike the spineless jellyfish sports journalists around this region, and I have no qualms in saying that, because since Tony Kosher died, not a single one of them have ever challenged CWI or challenged the territorial boards. They are a set of spineless jellyfish. You see, you are independent. They can't fire you.
But Basil,
ask those questions.
But Basil, the history is that if you challenge the establishment, you get locked out. You don't get invited to press conferences. You get locked out. You get frozen out.
Well, then we just have to embarrass the Cricket West Indies. If they would lock out him because they can't fire him, if they would lock him out from getting press credentials and so on, because he asked tough questions, they're going to get embarrassed. Yeah. Because the West Indies Cricket Board continues to behave as if there's some bloody private cabal and their communication is the worst and it's not getting better. They change, people come and gone and gone and gone, and they continue to be less than amateur when it comes communication.
I want to say, gentlemen, I was at the World Cup and I was roaming with the international press. I was at these press conferences and I was well respected. No one have ever said to me that my questions were inappropriate. And at the World Cup, it's another level.
Yes, that is the elite.
That's the elite. But the thing that gave me the most satisfaction, and I'm telling you the truth, is my response to the young man was that I am too mature to respond to this. It gives me a lot of satisfaction that I was able to forgive him, remembering that as a youngster, I was very often forgiven. And that it brought a level of satisfaction to me personally. And at no time, Cricket West Indies or anyone in Cricket West Indies can ever say I ever disrespected anyone there. I ask tough questions, yes, but I do not disrespect anyone. You know, Basil, that we protect West Indies cricketers. You know that the amount of information that we get from people who are telling us all different things about these players.
Exactly.
And we keep those information and filter them out, because as a West Indian fan channel, our responsibility is to protect our players. They are our players and we have to protect them. that does not prevent us from asking the hard questions.
Yes, the white and Carlton. Look, I when it comes to the players, as you said, I get information about a lot of off-field things. I keep that in my pocket because if I'm analyzing a player, it's purely on what they do on the cricket field.
Absolutely.
Right? I'm not getting to people what they do. And somebody made a statement earlier about me and you not fans of the Silva. I would like to say to that person, the last West Indian cricketer I was a fan of is Brian Lara. I have not been emotionally attached to a West Indian cricketer since Brian Lara. Yeah. Before him, it was Viv Richards, was my favorite batsman, and then Andy Roberts bowler. But since Lara, I am not emotionally attached to no West Indian cricketer, so nobody can tell me that I don't like this person. No. Because the players don't inspire me to have that emotional attachment like I had when Brian Lara was doing his business in the days. I don't have that anymore. So I don't have to. I can talk about them purely on the performances, cold-blooded, without no sentiments.
Yeah. But Basil and Carlton, the question that Carlton asked during the interview is really the question we should be focusing on. And I see somebody here making the same point because that is the issue that we have right now. And I noticed you mentioned it earlier. What are these players doing in between test series? Greaves is right. In the middle of a test series, you cannot be changing technique. You cannot overhaul the technique. You can't do anything at that point in time. All you can do is to try to have a certain mentality going into the game. All right? But the question should be asked, what is being done in between test series? And I like the point that you made, that you made earlier, that we are expecting the West Indies Cricket Board to establish systems in each of the territories in terms of facilities and especially in terms of coaching. I agree with that. I agree with Carlton. Players should be reporting for duty like you report for your job. It shouldn't be up to the players. If they feel like jogging, if they feel like exercising, to do the exercise. If they feel like working, to do the workout. If they don't, they can go to KFC and hang out with a friend. No, they should treat this thing like a job. There should be a program. It should be supervised. They should have access to professional coaches, and there should be something where they're going in. All right. So I concur with you totally, Carlton. The question should be answered. What is happening in between series?
So Lou Prudent is saying, Mr. Brown, the follow-up question was spot on. These are the conversation we in the region need to have. So there's Lou Prudent agreeing with you.
Carlton, I have said this. And I'm qualified to do this with my training, to go to every territory and spend 2 weeks or whatever observing the franchise cricketers, what they're doing, the coaches doing with them, and go down and watch the club, what they're doing at the club and the school cricket, etc. To every territory, right? Because we need to get to actually what we are doing on the ground to make a critical analysis, because if we're going to make the change, we have to change our methods. Right? Yeah. And Carlton, I'll tell you this too. I have actually seen videos of some of these programs that West Indies coaches send back for the players to do, and they're absolute rubbish, to be frank. Absolute rubbish. Some of these, I will ask the question, are these coaches being audited? Because people keeping jobs as coach year in, year out, but players not improving, but they still got the job year in, year out.
That's the point I'm making. So Lou Prudent is saying, Basil, what's up with you and Lou Prudent? You're really becoming a fan now.
That's my man there, Lou Prudent.
Yes. So Mr. Casanova is saying that person don't want us to hold players accountable for their poor performances. It's more like close to 30 years now after 1995. Well, I had only said 20.
Yeah.
Boy, Lou Prudent, boy, is loving you guys this morning. Yeah, man, Mediocrity has infested C. Dobra like a stage 4 cancer diagnosis. And Sweet Bread is saying that was the question to ask. However, is C. Dobra capable of answering that question?
That's $1 million question.
That's a big question from Sweet Bread. And Lou Prudent said, big up, gentlemen. This is discourse. This is a discourse needed, you know. So Stephen Roach said, Stephen Roach is saying West Indies will need to win this match because we already know that they hardly win when they have to set a target. How much do we need, Basil? 300?
It's almost 300. It's 294, 1 ball left.
Okay.
I told you that would have happened.
Mama Dula made a 50. The guy you remember, Tom?
Yes.
Yeah. And Miraz made 74. He was, well, he didn't score as much as when he came to the wicket. Oh, Ali, Ali. He scored some, he played really well in that test match. I mean, I thought that innings that he played was a really good innings. Well, Carlton, you saw it.
Yes. Yeah, I definitely saw it. So John P. Nicol is saying, and this is something that John P. Nicol has been saying for 2 years now, so that we must treat the players fairly and not like plantation workers. This is 2024 and not...
Let him explain what he mean by that.
Yeah.
I think John P. Nicol, all due respect to his opinions, he has his right to his opinions, but I don't see how we are giving our assessment of the players and their performances. That's all we're doing.
And I really, John P. Nicol is a legend of this community. I like him, but I really don't think he has been adding any value with his comments this morning. David Kellman is saying, the message from the management and the captain are the same. They don't know how to handle the press and inform the fans. The next thing this morning, gentlemen, and take down, and this is the final one now. 2 Saturdays ago, the final of the West Indies Super 50 tournament was forfeited by both Barbados and Jamaica.
Mm-hmm.
Since then, we have heard a lot of to and fro. We have heard things through the grapevine, and we have heard official comments. We touched on it slightly 2 weeks ago because there was not a show last week due to the test match.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start with you, Basil. Give us your take on the situation and how you would have approached it.
Look, I heard the Jamaica cricket board president's interview with Sportsmax, and I thought he was thoughtful. I agreed with pretty much what he said. No, and why I say that, because I did my due diligence on the situation. I ain't get into any emotion about this, right? And one person, people telling me something. Oh, rainfall for 5 hours, and they saw puddles on the field, and then how you could play and so on. Well, I related to the person. I was at Providence years ago, and when they built Providence, the engineer bragged that 6 inches of rain could fall at Providence and cricket could play half an hour later because of the drainage, right? The water don't stay in the thing. And I had my own experience watching a game there, sitting on the grassy mound, which also has the same drainage system under there. Rain came down and fell pretty hard for a good 20 minutes. So while we sheltering. So when the rain stopped, come back to the grassy mound, and I asked some friends who were working the scoreboard to give me a cardboard box. If they had one, I could put on the grass to sit down so my pants don't get wet. So I took my hand to take what I thought would be water on the surface of the grass before I put the box down. And to my surprise, I took my hand across and my hand came up dry. I said, what? I did it again. Even on the ground hard, my hand came out dry, not even mud. So that part there, if you don't know the drainage system at Brian Lara, don't criticize. The other thing I would like to say about this, Jamaica people it set up contradicted themselves when they brought in the excuse of we didn't have enough time to warm up. So are you then acknowledging that the field of play was adequate enough to play? It was not unsafe because now you're using lack of time to warm up. You were told 32 minutes before the start of play, when play would start, is more than he got adequate time to warm up. That's my point.
Thank you. Dwight, what's your take on that forfeited match in Trinidad and Tobago?
This is a match that I have very strong opinions on. And I'm happy that the Jamaica Cricket Board has taken the stance that they did, just saying, listen, we believe that we messed up or we acted poorly in the situation. We just asked it straight just to show some leniency with our players. Let's move past this. This foolishness that Barbados is doing, and those are my words, because what they're doing is absolute foolishness. All it's doing is just threatening to ruin the brand. There is nothing in this to debate. We have a structure, we have a system, we have a set of laws, and we work with it. Law number one is the umpire determines whether or not the field is fit for play. And once we put that in place, even if we have reservations and disagreement, we work with that. I don't want to hear any stupid reasons about, oh, a player can injure himself or you can wreck your career. We ask umpires every day to go out there to make decisions that can wreck a player's career. I watched a regional thing where John Bonner was being given out and basically discarded from Test cricket over what I thought were poor umpiring decision. An umpire may make a bowler who is threatening life and limb on a batsman to continue to bowl another one and another one before he takes steps to prevent that from happening. And as players, you're just asked just work with the umpires. The authorities are asked to train the umpires properly, but we have to work with the system. Barbados is coming out. I've heard every reason. I've heard that the field wasn't fit for play. I've heard that they weren't given enough time to warm up. I'm now hearing that they don't believe that two teams can forfeit a game because that's not in the rules. One team can forfeit a game, but you can't have two teams forfeiting the game. So since what happened is unprecedented and isn't explicitly stated out in the rules, they should get their money. And the best one yet, I've heard Barbados saying that they had intended, and this was given through their secretary, Mr. Nichols, in an interview on Sports Desk. He said that they had every intention of playing the game, but because of the short time, they just didn't have enough time to put together the players. And that was why they did not show up for the toss. They just ran out of time and just simply didn't show up for the toss. This is foolishness. This is foolishness, and you're disrespecting the intelligence of Caribbean fans, but you're also hurting the brand in talking about you're gonna go and you're gonna sue the board. While they're doing this, they're not showing up for board meetings, important board meetings to settle important critical issues. Barbados is just fooling around, in my opinion.
Correct.
Thank you very much. Gentlemen, I know a lot of persons initially they were saying that there should have been a reserve day. Whether or not there should be a reserve day, I am one who believes that a reserve day would be ideal, but put that out of it. I'm asking the question, if this was a must-win game for either team, would the match have been forfeited?
You don't have to go so far. You don't have to go so far. Forget about must-win. If they knew from before, if one of the match officials had said, you know, if you don't show up for the coin toss, you're not going to get any money, right? They would be there. They would be there. Go ahead, Pastor.
As I said, I did my due diligence. And based on my due diligence, what I got, the guys did not want to play, and they thought they're getting the 75,000 each.
All right. So you have the what you said about. I don't. What you just said, Dwight, that I don't have to go so far. You are saying that if one of the match officials had just said to them that they won't get any money if they don't play, do you think at that very crunch time, when, and I'm not excusing the behavior of the players here, at that crunch time when the officials realized that the players were not coming out, could someone have just gone to them and said, gentlemen, if you don't play, you're not getting any money. So I'm giving you an extra 5 minutes to get out there. Could someone have gone to them and said that?
I think so. To give them even more context and see really is it really the field that was y'all worry? And now that you know that you're not getting the money, and you got a lot of young guys on these teams, that is the holiday season coming up. They got deprived of getting a nice small piece that they could have done something lovely for their families over the holiday season. Now they got deprived of that. So yeah, maybe that could have been done. Yeah, in hindsight.
What do you think, Dwight? Do you think one of the officials could just go to them and said, "Listen, my gentlemen, don't forfeit the match, else there'll be no money"?
I'm thinking about the way in which it would be done, because ideally we would want that. I mean, the officials could have done several things better. The players complained that for the whole day they didn't have a system of when the officials would inspect the field and all of that. They were just kept in the dark. But that's what the claim is, that they did not know anything, and the officials showed up half an hour before.
I don't get your thought process, because I want to give context to that. That right throughout the day, from the West Indies media personnel was at the ground. The press was advised when the inspections were going to be done throughout the day.
Well, I'm telling you, in an interview. No, wait. In an interview given on KLS, I think it was on Friday, the secretary of the Barbados Cricket Association, I believe his name is Nichols, yes, he said clearly that the players were kept in the dark right up to half an hour before the game was played. He said they knew nothing, which I find incredible, that they didn't know about when inspections were being played, that they didn't know anything. And they were just simply told at, I think it was 5:45, that, gentlemen, the game will start at 6:70. That's what his claim is. But I don't want to hear that.
That could be true though, Dwight. So although the press was kept informed, it could also be true that and that would then be unprofessional. Yeah. If it is true, Basil, go ahead.
The other thing to that is this. I looking at these guys mopping up the ground. The covers get take off. You know, was my first thing as a coach to my team. I said, guys, y'all start getting yourself ready. That's my first thing. Before anybody come and tell me. When I see those movements, because my position from a coaching perspective, I want to make sure my boys are ready in the event this game going to start in short time. So I telling them, y'all start going and get ready. That would be my message.
So do I?
Yeah, but I want to answer your question, Basil.
Go ahead.
Well, you go ahead. I want to answer your question. Nonetheless, I mean, I would have, like you, I agree, the umpire should have kept them informed. I don't know what the truth is. This is just what we have heard. But in terms of how would the umpires actually go across and say that to them? Because I think it's not regarded as being in keeping with how the game should operate. If you have officials going up to players and saying, if you don't play, you're gonna get fined.
No, that wouldn't be the umpires doing that. The match referee cricket was on site. He would be the one to go and tell them that.
Okay. I can understand that. I can understand, but I don't want the umpires to get caught up in that sort of.
No, they're getting involved in that.
I agree with you. I agree. But I agree. I totally agree. Somebody should have said, guys, you don't want this to escalate beyond a certain level. It's gonna involve this. It's gonna involve disciplinary hearings. It's going to involve maybe a question as to whether or not to get any money. Somebody should have said something.
That's my thought process. And as I said again, I'm not absolving the players of their responsibility, but I also think somebody should have shown the maturity, because I think it was ego for somebody not to show the maturity to go to the players and said, these are the implications. The next thing, gentlemen, is, do you think the players understand that the cricket is the product that they are selling, and they have to play the cricket because that is actually the product, and that is what actually sponsors are buying? That the cricket is like a loaf of bread that you are selling to the consumer. Do you think they understand those things, guys, gentlemen?
I mean, Carlton, you raised a question, and that was one of my first thought processes. As I started reading the articles coming out of Trinidad as to what transpired, is that we're living in a day and age where the world is everything we do, the world is seeing, right? Because this game is being seen throughout the world, right? And my first thing was like, this reeks of unprofessionalism. And you know, when I hear some things like, oh, we shouldn't have a 50 over final get brought down to a 20 over game. Well, that's been happening throughout since these rules have been put in place. What constitutes a full game in 50 over cricket? And we've seen it in T20 where it's 5 overs, right? At the international level also. So I think those concerns to me were a joke. But most importantly, West Indies, again, the professionalism, in my view, that is lacking throughout our cricket structure was in full display with that forfeiture by both teams.
Dwight?
I think people need to understand the things that will hurt cricket as a sport and hurt the marketability of cricket. We have seen, and you see the numbers out there in terms of what we're seeing in terms of test cricket and the movement towards from a longer format to a shorter format. We're seeing where the money is. When a broadcaster gets up and puts down hard money to say that they'll be showing a sport that is subject to weather conditions and all of that, the players and the people who have an interest in it, the players and the people who are earning from this, must understand the nature of the product that they're selling. And so I question, like you, whether or not the players recognize that the product is cricket. The product is cricket, and that is what is being sold. That is what is being bought. And if it comes off like some sort of inconsistent, lukewarm type product, broadcasters won't be interested. And if broadcasters are not interested, you're really killing your career before it gets going.
Thank you very much. John P. Nicol, I want to respond in a very simple way, because I cannot always teach everything. But sometimes I can do a little teaching. One name came to mind as I saw this, John P. Nicol, LeBron James. And as I said, LeBron James, Michael Johnson come to mind. No West Indies cricketer, Tendulkar, no West Indies cricketer earns as much as those guys. But have those guys stopped working at 35? John P. Nicol, to put this position forward, you are creating a fantasy and a narrative that is not realistic. No matter how much any sportsman is paid in the world, if he's going to maintain his quality of life and his standard of living while he was a sportsman, he has to work after finish playing. It lacks reality, John P. Nicol, to make that statement. They have to work no matter what they are paid. Gentlemen, do you want to respond to John P. Nicol?
Yeah, I want to say this. John P. Nicol, forget there's something called social media. And in the past eras, before there was social media, fans' opinions about players were very rarely ever heard, right? and the one-time fans will have a chance to let the players know what they feel about their player, so on, would be when they're playing at the ground. You're watching the game and you're making your certain comments, screaming at the players, etc. But with the advent of social media, everybody's opinions, whether you like them, you agree with them or not, the world will see them. And that is the environment we're in. I can tell you what he is talking in terms, and he's talking specifically about Hetmyer. You go onto social media, Hetmyer is one of the most polarizing figures in West Indies cricket. And you would hear, I would read some of the comments that fans would make pro Hetmyer and against Hetmyer. And I find them hilarious. That to the point where I don't even look at them no more. There was a time I used to read them. I haven't read any social media thing about fans talking back, because I stopped going to some of them pages on social media, because a lot of it is a lot of rum shop talk. If something pop up of great intelligence, on your line, I might respond to it. But I don't understand what John P. Nichols talking about. That's the reality of today. What we talk on here is nothing in compare to the personal, how these people get personal with Hetmyer. Even let me give you an example. You remember Hetmyer missed the World Cup? He's playing a match in Guyana, the inter-county game. And as he's walking off the field, when he got out, there was a group of fans in one of the stands. He got a pass going back to the pavilion. They start calling him all kind of names because he ain't go to the World Cup. They start calling names. Then later on, when he went and played for Guyana and Trinidad in the 50-over tournament, he got out. And as he's coming in, fans in the stand there in Trinidad start calling him names and talking about his wife. That is, his wife is the one who tell he mustn't go, and all kind of story like that. And he started responding back to them. Right? So I think, John P. Nichols, we here are making intelligent assessments of players' performance. We don't get into none of the personal this and all of those kinds of things. You may disagree with us. That is fine. We're expressing our opinions. That's what the show is about.
Dwight,
The whole. Go on. Go ahead. Let me hear you.
I'm asking you. It is unrealistic for you to think that you are going to work until 35 and you earn enough money to take you through the rest of your life if you live until 80, and also to create generational wealth. No matter how much money you earn until that time, you still have to work afterward if you want to create generational wealth. So the point about these players only playing until 35, it's really unrealistic from John P. Nichols. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with you. I was trying to understand the totality of his point. He was saying something at the end about the negativity doesn't hurt, which to me sort of sound like he doesn't agree with some of the sharp criticism that we are giving to these players, because we're just going to tear them down. And I agree with entirely with what Basil said, that our concerns or comments are based simply on the sport. It's not a personal thing. We're not getting into anybody's life or anything like that. We're just talking about our concern as fans. And what people need to understand, it is the concerns of fans that drive the sport and pay the players. It is the love that fans have to see a certain player play that makes him go out and spend money to go and pay a ticket to buy a ticket for the game, or to go and subscribe to ESPN to watch the game. It is the disappointment of fans or the hope to see a resurgence in a sports team or in a player that drive fans to put money in the game. So the negativity goes hand in hand with the elation and the joy of the sport. Once we're not crossing certain lines, I don't have a problem with players being asked pointed questions and fans insisting on seeing better.
Thank you very much, Dwight. And listen to this now, because I think that what Karen Fritz is saying here now, because I'm going to read this next statement. I heard no interview, no coaches, no player. But for both teams to take the same action with management involved, costing themselves money, we are not being told something makes no sense. But immediately said, I am now listening with context. The team were wrong. So is that we here able to provide context
Correct.
for Karen Fritz, and now is able to form an opinion. Whether you agree with the opinion that Karen Fritz form or not, is now have enough information that he can form an opinion.
You know, Carlton. I'll give you a good, simple scenario where again the awareness of these players seem lacking. Now y'all disagree with the umpire, the players that is, the field unsafe, etc. You lace up to go and play. Go out on the field, you running up the ball, and you could fake your slip. So this thing here, this footing is not good enough because umpires are not always right. You remember the test match in Antigua against England? After 1.4 overs, the game had to be abandoned because the grass hadn't binded. The international umpires said the field was ready to play, right? But how could you prove that the field was not ready to play? You had to go onto the field and try to do an action. And I can't.
Excellent point.
For the life of me, I can't, because here, me as a coach, now I tell me players here, if we lose the toss and we go on the ball, we don't want to play. When you run up for ball, you try to slip a little bit and so on.
But listen, I'm not even going to the slipping arc because I don't want to fake a slip and get injured. I'm running right through.
Even are you running? You said this thing too soggy.
Yes.
Some excuse
Yes.
even to show to the umpires this.
And that was a point. With the first time I was asked about this was a point I made. I said they should have brought their protest to the playing field itself during the game. Go have the talk. Let's go on the field. And I'm showing you, even as I'm running up, no man, this thing don't feel nice. Or exactly. What about that puddle there? I'm bringing my protest onto the field, but I'm not going to do something as silly as to not show up for the toss.
And think about it. The time that would go into dealing with that would cause the game to get called off, because you were right on you're right on the cusp of whatever time to get the 20 overs in. So that little interaction would take some time. That the game umpire got say, okay, we got called off.
And as a player, you also could have been wrong. The players could have been wrong. Exactly. You could have taken the field, start running up, and you realize conditions are not as bad as I thought. Let's go through, and we had a game.
So Sweetbread is saying the professionalism should have started with a rain day to ensure that the product sold was as top-notch as possible. I think he was talking about a reserve day.
Yeah, but Carlton, I asked the question, have there ever been a reserve day? I don't know the facts on this. I posed the question, has there ever been a reserve day in the past? Right? Because we have had these 50 over tournaments that have been televised for years now. Have there been a reserve day in the past?
Because that's a good question, because you cannot now come up at the end of the tournament and say that there should have been a reserve day.
No.
When
and it
for 10, 15 years there were none.
Money. I know Chateau like the fiduciary things. You know that reserve day is extra money because you got to pay hotel an extra day and all. I think that is a consideration. And the sponsors, remember, the sponsors of the tournament, were they willing to sponsor a reserve day? All of those things you got to consider.
As Michael Douglas is saying, I was one of the optimistic that sit down for hours watching, waiting for the match. I was upset with the players from the moment both teams never show up to the toss. He said, while I was watching, the players had no interest in playing. So many time was there for the players to even put on their shoes and do some light stretching. But those guys were sitting down in slippers.
That's the impression I got. That's the impression I got.
There's something here that Sherwin is saying, Mr. Brown, who is the most powerful politician in the West Indies? And he answered by saying, Mr. Brown, that will be Ralph Gonzalez. It is his election time in St. Vincent. Dr. Krishma Shallow and Ralph are on opposite side.
Yes. And you hear Dr. Ralph Gonzalez, the PM, has been making critical comments about Shallow's tenure thus far. As a president, criticizing, say he's been not up to par.
Yeah. Gentlemen, it was a long show. We have got almost 2 hours. I never knew it would have taken so long. So I'm going to ask you now, Basil, you are your time now to go first. So let's hear from you, Basil.
I just want to talk about the current game that's going on. I hope West Indies will overhaul this score. I'm hoping that West Indies put forward a very solid batting performance to overhaul this score. And that's all I want to say about that today.
Thank you very much, Basil. Dwight, your final comment?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to see how we bat in the second innings. But I think that we are at a critical junction West Indies cricket. As even say people from outgoing presidents of the ICC questioning our place in international cricket.
Oh, yes.
And I think now is the time for real leadership to step up and for bold decisions to be made. And for real thought be put in place in terms of looking to develop our cricket.
Thank you very
Carter,
much.
Carter,
Yes, Dwight.
can I just add quickly, because I just want to add that thing what Chato said there about this whole breaking up that the Barclay and so on have said. I think it has put into the full view, because I agree with him, we're at crossroads, and then to see this situation regarding the governance with Barbados and Guyana board not turning up to the meeting because they have a specific position and they didn't feel their position was welcome. Well, we're supposed to hear from the Barbados vice president. I think he's going to be on a show coming up soon and so on. But these things have put our cricket at the crossroads. And you've heard people who have advocated breaking up West Indies teams into individual island nation teams. Coming up, you hear the ICC president saying these things, but not looking at the whole context of it. And in my view, I just want to end with this. I always view the Caribbean as one nation separated by waters. Cricket is a thread that continues to hold that concept together. We cannot afford, because as individual island nations, we will continue to be slaves to the larger global economy because of our mere size and so on. But as a collective, we can be something much more than that. And cricket is the thing that holds the thread together, that maybe we can work. I say, if we can really work our cricket in the right way, it can be an inspiration to the model in which we can work as an integrated unit.
Thank you, Basil. I agree with what you're saying, and this probably will for another show in its entirety.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to say that Barclay was not speaking from his mouth. He was speaking from somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to look at the ulterior motives for he saying that.
Mm-hmm.
Barclay was an individual that was hurt. He suffered extreme pain as a result of the West Indies' dominance in cricket when he was a youngster.
Yeah.
And he know it was a filler moment for him. And he is still suffering from that hurt. He wants to punish West Indies. But this will take a whole show.
Yes.
But suffice to say, he was not speaking from his mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Have a good day, everyone. I will see you in another hour for the watch along of the West Indies innings after the first drink break. Thank you, everyone. Take care and see you next week. This has been Takedown.